And now, live in studio, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Yes, here we are again another day, committed to picking a fight with the mainstream media and providing you the timely truth centered around real estate, credit, finance, estate planning, tax planning, and so much more. Over 80 show partners and categories on the Consumer Quarterback Show, where we all want to educate, entertain, enlighten, and most importantly, we want to engage you in an effort to help you win in any marketplace.
The only thing I'm addicted to right now is winning.
Now, we want you to pull out your smartphone, save our hotline number in your phone. At some point, you're going to need it. 813-670-7372. 813-670-7372. Now, you can text or call that line. Also, save our hotline number and our website, consumerqb.com. Website is a plethora of information available for you at consumerqb.com. You can see links to all of our expert contributors, the finest folks in all of Tampa Bay and the Gulf Coast region that we've assembled and we vetted and we bring on air every day, going against the nonsense out there in the mainstream media. And let's go around the horn now, make our introductions. Back in studio, Jaret Nichols, owner and project manager, Tampa Bay Electronic Systems. Welcome in, sir.
Thank you for having me back. Today we are going to celebrate the season of lightning and talk about the things you really need to do to take care of your house and your belongings should the unfortunate event of a lightning strike on or around your property happen.
That's right. Yeah, it's popping out there. It's from time to time it's popping. We also got 5 weird facts about the rain, so that's going to be an interesting tie-in as well. And also back in studio, Leo Kane, principal project manager, Beryl Engineering. Welcome in, sir.
Well, thanks for having me back. We're also going to talk about the season of lightning and what you can do to protect your home from the elements.
Yeah, it's this the season, right? It's the rainy season, and we much needed. You know, our firefighters, all the folks out there, they've been fighting these fires, and now we're going to get some precipitation here to help, saturate the soil, hopefully, and do away with some of that. All right. Also, Fred Muth in the house, design, estimating, and sales, Tampa Screens and Aluminum. Welcome in, sir.
Thank you. I'm very glad to be back. I believe I'm responsible for the rain. I've sold 7 or 8 concrete jobs over the past couple of weeks, and never fails. I don't sell concrete, it doesn't rain. So the rain's there because I sold the concrete.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And we're giving a shout out to Brio Tuscan Grill at the International Plaza in Tampa, our official hotel partner, restaurant partner, that is. And 2223 Northwest Shore Boulevard. It's Brio Tuscan Grill, International Plaza. And it's awesome food over there, friendly staff, excellent service. At Brio Tuscan Grill at the International Plaza, you will discover our Italian menu, drinks, and a cozy atmosphere, bringing the pleasures of the Tuscan Country Villa to Tampa. We of course invite you down there, check out the show, check out the restaurant partner, and a lot of cool things happening in Tampa Bay, a lot of great stuff. And Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, the best place in the nation to be living, working, and playing for sure. And as you know, we always start off with a little personal development, some ideas to help you win out there. And today, we want you to call that audible. Peyton Manning helping us with that audible there. So I thought what we would do this week is Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. We're going to talk about the 7 habits. We're going to take 2 per day and kind of talk to you about these 7 habits and remind you that habit number one is be proactive. Being proactive means taking responsibility for our attitudes, our actions, as well as thinking with the intent to make things happen. So ultimately, you think about that. It starts with proactivity. A lot of times people have these great ideas and they say, they see it on TV and, that person stole my idea. Well, you should have acted on that idea. You had something that you had a gift from the universe to you about being proactive, but you weren't proactive. And one of my favorites, Tony Robbins, says, never leave the sight of setting a new goal or having some type of an idea without taking an action item towards that goal. And what does that mean? basically, if you come up with an idea, what you're going to do is you're going to schedule a call. You're going to make a call, make a text message, put it in the calendar, write it down, pull out a notepad, write it down, and be proactive about it. Otherwise, you're going to sit on it, you're going to forget about it, and it's going to become buried under your list of to-dos and other things that you're busy with in this busy life that we have now. It's faster than ever, faster-paced life here in society, it seems, than ever. So habit number one, be proactive. We're going to talk about that in a 7-day series here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Stephen Covey, the late and great Stephen Covey there, being proactive. So, all right, let's go ahead and jump into this great content. And also later in the show as well, we've got a Colombian garbage man builds a library from discarded books. So interesting stuff coming up, as well as our expert contributors here helping you win in any marketplace. We want to be different from a lot of the mainstream media out there, the fake news out there, and we want to give you these timely truths around a lot of different areas of business and finance and real estate as well. So let's start off right here with Jaret Nichols. He's the owner and project manager of Tampa Bay Electronic Systems. So yeah, it's lightning season. Jaret, what are you seeing out there?
Well, we haven't got a phone call yet, so that's a good thing. But every time one of these storms comes through and it gets dark and pouring rain, lightning, thunder, I'm always kind of waiting for the phone to ring with the next call of, hey, this happened. But really, we do a good job as a company, and a lot of companies do, especially here in Florida, of selling the right grounding and surge protection, things like that. And, it's good that consumers understand the value of that here. It's definitely different than, say, New York, where I started doing this type of work, in upstate New York.
Yeah.
I mean, the chance of getting a lightning strike on your property in upstate New York compared to here has to be something like, 1% or, half of that, half of that, half of that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, no, it's really the odds of getting a lightning strike up there are so slim. It's, crazy.
Yeah, we really are the lightning capital of the world, I believe, right? I mean, we named our hockey team after lightning, the Tampa Bay Lightning. And so what can people do about this, Jaret? I mean, you spend a lot of money, homeowners spend a lot of money in upgrading their sound, their systems, their TVs, their, even computers, a lot of home-based offices these days also. What can people do about it?
Well, when we sell any new product, we're always providing the surge protection on the proposal and highly recommending that, grounding for new systems with racks and things like that. Really, clients need to be careful when we put a system in of other things you're not really thinking about. That's the biggest thing to kind of think about. And one thing we always say when we sell a job is, let me know if you want a comprehensive check of other things around your house. I mean, because it's not a normal thing for us to go into every room and kind of look around and say, hey, you might want to plug this in. But if something's connected to our system and it's not surge protected, I've seen this happen more often than not when I've run into a problem. The surge comes through an electrical outlet, gets into the low voltage components, and then that's where other parts of the system blow out. So really, if you're plugging a PC into the wall, plug it into a surge protector.
Right.
I've seen that happen. TVs, even if it's not on the system, if it's got a coax wire in it, that's another way that bad voltage can get out. And when your system is connected by a Spectrum or somebody, make sure they're grounding it correctly.
Right.
I've seen more surges happen through the coax line, specifically Spectrum or formerly Bright House, than anywhere else.
Wow. So, and to recap that, then you want to make sure now. Will these just the inline, the one that you buy? It's a little bit cheaper, and it has like the 5 or 6 outlets, and then it's got the little red switch on the end. Will that suffice, or do you need something bigger than that?
I think the more of the investment, the bigger, the better the surge protector you want to look at putting in there. There's a Joule rating on everything, and I don't know if there's an independent organization that kind of looks into that and monitors it. But the more expensive of the investment, the more I'd say make sure you have the right type of surge protection on there.
Right.
And if Tico sells you a Zap Cap or something along those lines, that's not really going to cut it. It's kind of like people's excuse for saying, I don't need surge protection. And there was a client last year that got hit by a lightning strike on the property, and he bypassed a lot of surge protection on his own, his own knowledge and thought process, and pretty much every single place the voltage got in was one of those areas.
Wow. Yeah, so it could cost you a lot of money when you look at this. Jaret Nichols here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, Tampa Bay Electronic Systems. So let's talk about some of the goodies. What are you seeing? What are you installing in people's homes? Of course, we talk a lot about the trending things that are happening out there in your space, and you talk about these electronic systems, the high definition TVs. Let's talk about some of the fun stuff.
This time of year, really just lots of different projects coming up. We're pretty heavy based in new construction, so with that kind of system, people are putting in every component. But smart home systems and home automation really is the big thing a lot of people are going for now. 4K TVs, I think I've talked about before. Every TV pretty much over 40 inches at this point is going to be 4K if it's a new model.
Wow.
If you're not familiar with that, it's about 4 times the resolution picture quality of 1080p TVs. They don't necessarily have the content yet, but pretty much that's all we're installing TV-wise. And you're not seeing a lot of TVs being sold under 40 inches anymore because the resolution is so incredible. The price points are so low. And I think the iPads and things of that nature are taking the smaller TV market. So that's something
absolutely. I think that's a big point there you made. It's, a lot of people are streaming now. They're streaming Netflix. They're ditching the cable companies. They're going to some of these online platforms. I've even heard with that Fire Stick, you're able to get a lot of even some of the newer movies. I don't know what some of that might not be legal. I'm not sure.
At the FBI about that. But
Yeah,
that's what I tell them. I have so many clients that ask me. I'm saying, I'll put your Fire TV in. I don't care what you're doing with it, but I'm not approving or anything. What you're, there's a lot of that stuff going on.
We need to have one of those fast worded, disclaimers that we do not recognize that a quarterback show. We're not responsible for it.
That's what I say. I say, hey, I'll install anything you want me to install. What you're doing with it, I don't care. I'm not interested in what you're doing with it.
Yeah,
it's a Fire TV. We installed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, more from Jaret Nichols to come, as well as Leo Kane, Principal Project Manager, Beryl Engineering, and we're going to hear from Fred Muth as well, Design, Estimating, and Sales Expert, Tampa Screens and Aluminum. More from our expert contributors, and also some interesting stories here. So, a Colombian man builds a library for kids. How he did so may surprise you. Find out in our Tell Me Something Good segment, as well as our top 5 coming up as well. Going to help you win at any marketplace. The Consumer Quarterback Show, ConsumerQB.com.
Hey, this is Jarek Robbins. You are listening to the Consumer Quarterback Show with Brandon Rhymes. Please do what it takes to learn all that you have to live the life you want to live it fully, and find a way to give it by paying it forward to others.
Get in touch with Brandon online at ConsumerQB.com. Listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at ConsumerQB.com.
All right, welcome Welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Brandon Rhymes here, Quarterback Show, Platinum MVP Realty, and I'm a top listing agent here in Tampa Bay. Featured in Florida Realtor Magazine multiple times, Top Agent Magazine, the Business Journal. We are recruiting real estate agents right now as well. We've got explosive growth with our lead platform and an aggressive split. So we're looking for some agents to come out and help us win in the real estate game. We want to help you win and close more deals. So a couple of hot listings I want to let you know about. 701 East Crenshaw Street in Tampa, and it's over in the Harmony Heights subdivision in Tampa. 3-bedroom, 2-bath property. We're doing an open house this weekend, so reach out on our Facebook page or at our website, consumerqb.com, for more information. We just reduced this property down to $259,000, and this is a motivated seller that's completed an extensive renovation on this beautiful pool home with approximately 2,300 square feet, no HOA. 701 East Crenshaw Street. We're doing an open house. I believe it's on Saturday, 11 to 2, and we got another beautiful property here in Seminole, Florida, 7657 132nd Way in Seminole. $399,000, just reduced. Great buying opportunity at the subdivision of Whispering Forest. 4-bedroom, 3-bath home and a pool home with a split floor plan and a beautiful pool area out back. Great times out there enjoying this beautiful Tampa Bay sunshine. All right, so in studio today, it's Intelligent Talk Radio, and we want to help you win. We've got Jaret Nichols in the house, Tampa Bay Electronic Systems, Leo Kane, Beryl Engineering, Fred Muth, Tampa Screens and Aluminum as well. So let's talk to Leo now. We in the first segment, we were talking with Jaret about some of these lightning strikes and some of the preventative type steps you can take when it comes to grounding, surge protection as well. And I noticed you nodding your head a lot there, Leo. You were kind of in agreement, and you're seeing a lot of this as well.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of what happens when you don't do what Jaret was talking about. We get called out to do Hillsborough County and City of Tampa have fire reports that are required from engineers to fill out after a fire has happened. And we go through and evaluate the house, the spread of the fire, the cause of the fire, percentages, and what then needs to happen to repair the house. So we're called in to look at the foundation, look at the walls, look at the floors, see how bad that arc caused the damage to the entire house. I've seen entire houses go up because a lightning strike hit an ungrounded house.
Wow. So how does that happen then? So of course, so it's going to hit, at some point it's going to hit the roof, it's going to touch down. That current's just going to flow right down through the property. I mean, talk about that process a little bit. What are you seeing in that case?
Well, in that case, like usually it's like a water heater that's improperly grounded. So you got water and you've got electricity.
Right.
It's all together. It's improperly bonded or grounded. And then it's old, so it's rusted, so it sparks. And once that spark happens, if you have your stack of newspapers next to your water heater, you've got the whole house going up in flames. Or you've got the laundry just sitting next to the water heater or the dryer. Dryers also catch on fire if the lint traps are I'm using
not cleaned out. Yeah.
If they're clogged, then that'll also catch on fire. So yeah, we see a lot of fires, but electrical is a big one. Just proper grounding, not grounded, old cloth wiring that wasn't upgraded. Or when you do a room addition and half your house is all new and fancy and the other half is knob and tube or old cloth wiring, you're just asking for a fire.
Yeah, the knob and tube, that's something that you still find in a lot of these older properties. You're seeing that out there. How much of that is prevalent, and how long till we knock a lot of this stuff out of the inventory?
Well, the insurance companies are basically making it so you can't get insurance on the older homes if it has knob and tube or galvanized plumbing. They're making you do those upgrades. Very few carriers will write, so it limits your opportunity. It raises your insurance through the roof. Basically, your price for an insurance for a year might be the same as just replacing the knob and tube wiring. So more people are getting rid of that wiring because it's becoming more prevalent.
Yeah. And I mean,
it's becoming more prevalent.
Such a major threat, too. I mean, you look at the potential for a fire in your house. You got kids sleeping in a room. It seems like something that would be a common sense decision when it comes down to that.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think back to, because I started off working for the power company, and there was an old statistic that when electricity first came about, like the standard large wires, like 1 in 3 linemen used to get killed.
Yeah.
So why would you want that same wiring in your house?
Right. Yeah. Wow, man, what a tough job to have out there as a lineman. I've got a family member that does that down in South Florida, and you're always thinking about those things when it happens. But Leo, Kane here, Principal Project Manager, Beryl Engineering in the house, and we're talking about ways that you can protect your family, protect your home, especially during this lightning season. And later in the show as well, we're going to talk about 5 weird facts about the rain and some interesting things that you may or may not know as well. And I want to give a big shout out to Kipton's, the Hotel Zamora in beautiful St. Pete Beach. It's the first new boutique-style hotel built on St. Pete Beach in decades. Spanish ancestry meets cool Mediterranean attitude, whitewashed Mediterranean palace. The rooftop 360 lounge is awesome. You got to check out these waterfront views there, the sunsets, and let them know the real estate quarterback sent you when you call them up. Just call the front desk, let them know the real estate quarterback sent you. Give them that quarterback show code, the REQB code, and you're going to get a 15 to 20% discount off of your stay at Kipton's, the Hotel Zamora on beautiful St. Pete Beach, the official hotel partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show. All right, so back to Leo here. So Leo, when you're looking at structural engineering, you're looking at some of these other properties. Let's talk a little bit about the structure, because I'm dealing with this on a potential offer that we've got on one of our properties. There was a potential issue, and sometimes it shows up and it muddies the water on public record. Can you speak to that and just kind of what you've seen out there and what some of the remedies are?
As far as like a sinkhole potential claim, or what isn't? That's the only thing I can think of that would muddy the water on a public record.
Yeah, it was something to do with maybe even just a tree root kind of growing in and causing damage.
Yeah, we see that all the time.
Yeah. So what's the remedy there? Typically what happens? What's the process? What do the listeners need to know about that?
Yeah, I mean, when you have these roots, it's up in New Tampa especially, they planted a certain type of tree called a laurel oak. They planted them next to sidewalks. They planted them next to houses. Developers loved them. They grow really fast. They look beautiful. They're low maintenance.
Yep.
They die really fast as well, and they cause lots of foundation problems, but by then the developer's already moved on.
Right.
So what ends up happening is these tree roots go underneath now this is a slab on grade home where your foundation's on the ground.
Right.
And the tree roots end up doing a condition called heaving, where they actually lift the foundation up. And that's the slab on grade that they're lifting. In more severe cases, they actually lift the wall, and you start getting a whole bunch of stair-step cracks, and then you get the bottom. So your blocks are basically, they're blocks, and they're stacked on top of each other. So in really severe cases of tree root heaving, the bottom block will start to push out from the wall, and the remedy at that point is to do something called underpinning, which is where you basically take your house and it's like giving it piers. People are familiar with pier homes.
Right.
Only those piers are now in the ground.
Right. So you somehow get down there, you're popping those piers in the ground. For example, my fiance and I are building on Lake Tarpon, and we had to go through that process. So it's interesting. You look, you're pounding these piers in the ground, and some of the old timers in the real estate space I've talked to as well, they say, hey, I'm going to build on a pier no matter where I'm at, just for the security of knowing that should something happen, I'm going to have a lot safer and more structurally sound foundation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the older 100-year-old homes on pier and block foundation. The plumbing, the electrical's easier to get to. When Jaret's coming in to run his wiring, he doesn't have to only go through the attic. He can go be in the crawl space as well.
Right.
So that works out. And then I know the piers of foundation, I don't have to worry about flooding as much, and then repairs are easier. It's just, I generally prefer, if it wasn't for the termite issue, I would prefer a raised home.
Right. Yeah, raising the home up off the ground, keeping above that floodplain level. The elevation certificate is going to play a key indicator on, those types of things. And of course, the soil testing is going to be very determinant of whether you're going to be using pier systems or not. And it's interesting. Brandon Rhymes here. I'm your host, Consumer Quarterback Show. Leo Kane, Principal Project Manager, Beryl Engineering, currently as well. We spoke with Jaret Nichols as well in the first segment. Jaret, so back to Jaret here. So you're thinking with when it comes to where the industry's going. You look at where high definition, you got virtual reality. There's so many cool things happening in your space. Let's talk about that. Let's explore that a little bit. What are you seeing out there? What do you think is coming down the pike?
It's really hard to say exactly what's going to be coming down the pipe because, 10 years ago, people were getting into this business for, the company that I actually sell smart home products, 10 years ago, next month is when I took my training for that product and opened my mouth and said, hey, this is not just a remote control. It also does I don't need any of that stuff. It's so futuristic.
Yeah.
So everybody was getting in and they were starting companies. 10 years ago in New York, my company I started was called Nichols Home Theater. we were a home theater based company. 10 years before that, home theater wasn't the buzzword. It was just probably every company had a stereo at the end of it, Bob's stereo, or 10 years before that, it might have been radio. So this is an industry that keeps changing every 10 years or so to some sort of different focus. And I think the next one is kind of not yet known by those. I do think that maybe virtual reality rooms is probably going to be on the next horizon for something that everybody's putting into their homes. Yeah, VR is big. I see the real estate application coming in more and more with these different types of home tours and things that you're seeing. So the trends that you look at in the industry, we always like to try to analyze that. That's the job of the leader in an organization, right? You want to analyze where are the trends going, how can we be ahead of the curve, and back to the technology piece is it's really interesting to see, and it's great for consumers is whenever that new technology comes out, it's driving the cost down of the former LCD TVs and the HD TVs. They're coming down in price, so it allows us to buy more as consumers. One thing that's changed a lot in the last year to year and a half, I'd say, is that I think the middle class is very much embracing the new technologies and the newer smart, do-it-yourself smart home type products. We've talked about this a little bit. That's right. In the past, but I think they're looking at the investment in professional home automation and saying, let me at least give this a try on my own. See how well it works, how reliable it is before I maybe make that investment, because what we sell is not necessarily inexpensive. The more you do, the more expensive it is. And if it's an existing home and wiring is needed to be retrofit, that's something that's going to really add to the cost. Yeah, absolutely. Jaret Nichols, Leo Kane, Fred Muth on the Consumer Quarterback Show coming up as well. 5 weird facts about rain that you may not know, as well as Colombian man builds a library for kids. How he did so may surprise you. Find out in our Tell Me Something Good segment. Stay with us. Don't touch that dial. Consumer Quarterback Show, ConsumerQB.com.
Thanks for listening to my daddy's show. For more information, go to ConsumerQB.com.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-670-7372. Online at ConsumerQB.com. listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, online at ConsumerQB.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-670-7372.
All right, welcome back. Brandon Rhymes here, Quarterback Show. Former USF football player, played on the inaugural football team at the University of South Florida, and longtime quarterback on our sports teams. And now we're quarterbacking transactions for our sellers out there. Quarterbacking introductions to our 80-plus show partners that we've assembled, we vetted, we bring on the show to help you win no matter what you're facing. But we want to engage you. We'd love to hear from you, comments, feedback from the show at consumerqb.com. Just submit the form at consumerqb.com. You can see links to all of our expert contributors. You can see their contact information if you want to contact them directly. You can also submit a form there under the contact form and send us an email direct. And also program our hotline number in your phone. At some point, you're going to need it. 813-670-7372. 813-670-7372. That's our Consumer Advocate Hotline. 670-REQB is the number there. So reach out. We'd love to hear from you. And this segment is brought to you by Felicia Lacaille with Healthy Gourmet, organic veggies and natural proteins delivered fresh 3 times a week. Meal plans starting at only $90. Optimal fuel, optimal performance. Shout out to Healthy Gourmet, Felicia Lacaille, longtime friend of the program. She's the CEO and founder of Healthy Gourmet. And all of our contact information is on the website as well, consumerqb.com. So in the house here, Jaret Nichols today, Tampa Bay Electronic Systems. He's warning about lightning in the rainy season, as well as Leo Kane, Principal Project Manager, Beryl Engineering, in the house as well. Kind of echoed some of that and talked a little bit about some of the things that you can do as well. And Fred Muth currently here. We want to talk with Fred Muth here, designing, estimating, and sales, Tampa Screens and Aluminum. So, Fred, thanks for coming back in. What else are you seeing out there?
Pleasure. Oh, I'm seeing a lot of tremendous growth, and we talk about this all the time. And I mentioned, I try to get to the job site. It takes forever. Hardest part of my job is getting there. I can sell it in a minute. Yeah. Once I get there, it's these are the pains of prosperity.
Right.
I'm happy with it, but it is frustrating.
Yeah.
I was in 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
In the 3 weeks that passed, I believe another couple 100,000 people moved into Florida, and the roads still cannot handle it. And obviously they're trying to make it happen. But I don't have to mention this. We all, you go from point A to point B, you pay the price. You see it.
Yeah.
You see
and this time of year, it's worse and worse because the rains get wet, the roads wet, and then you got a little bit of the oil and residue from the tires on the roadways, and all of a sudden now you got a slip and slide out there.
Yeah,
and you got these people that love to tailgate, and
they all think they're at
just goofy drivers out there. But what can we do, right?
Well, we can just drive along as goofy as them, or be careful. Either way, it's dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. Don't do the road rage thing. I've seen every now and then people getting a little rowdy out there in the roadways.
Bad news. Well, Jaret and Leo both, you talk about a couple of the hazards in the industry. We're talking about lightning, and we're talking about tree roots. Man, both of these things affect my business like you can't imagine.
Yeah.
And number one, if you talk about the lightning, I'd like to let all the homeowners know that when they build the pool cages, they are grounded. So there should be no problem. No problem with the cages.
Mm-hmm.
I recently took on a project where the pool itself was kidney shaped, the deck was kidney shaped, and then of course we had to square it with a footer. And the pool was in the ground 6 or 7 years prior to us bidding the job. So when we got into the job, we found that there was a 10 gauge ground wire out the back end of the pool that was grounded. It went into a piece of rebar into the ground. And that piece of number 10 was attached to the supposedly attached to the steel in the shell of the pool.
Mm-hmm.
When we proceeded with the footer, etc., we had to tie that number 10 into the rebar, and then of course bring it out the back end, pour the footer, and then we had to tie that number 10 into the pool cage on the back end as well as grounded at the pump. So I mean,
wow.
they're very well grounded. I just question, and Leo, you'd probably be able to answer this question better than me. A lightning strike is pretty hot. So how effective is a 10 gauge wire?
It could burn up. I mean,
it could.
Wire is good for what? 20 amps, 30 amps.
That's exactly what I'm thinking when I'm watching these guys wire this up with 10 gauge. So whatever, either way. But next subject would be the tree roots, and
right.
Quite often my customers they like the largest slab that they can get, and the backyard's loaded with trees. I just can't get close to a tree, and to disclose that information to the customer, you see a frown on their face because they want this large enclosure. I have a rule of thumb where I take the diameter of the tree and I multiply it by 4, and that's how many feet I want to stay away. And then, of course, I always add 2 for good measure. So if it's 2 feet wide, we're talking 2 times 4 is 8, 10 feet. I don't want to pour the slab any closer than 10 feet to the tree.
Interesting.
And in most cases, if you look at, and you mentioned laurels, but I think live oaks and some of the other oaks, I think the root system is a little different, where it projects out and then it decides to dive down at a certain point. So that's where that rule of thumb comes into play.
Yeah, and you sometimes worry about it, or you think about it in terms of close to a seawall as well. Like there's plant life on the seawall. I mentioned our lot. We're talking about building, and it's started the process, and there's some trees there. But so in my mind, I'm thinking, well, why wouldn't we leave the tree because of the the root system beneath and the potential for erosion? But then there's the other school of thought is you got to remove it so that way it doesn't affect the seawall later at some point. Comments on that?
Well, same thing. The other option is obviously to cut the root system out of the tree, and the DOT does it all the time. The trees survive. I'm not a big fan of that in my business, because the slab is usually between the house and the tree. And if you cut the roots out of the tree, you're taking the legs out of the tree, basically.
Exactly.
And now that tree wants to lean towards the home in a windstorm or whatever. So
it
would be the same thing with a seawall. If you take the roots out, it's going to want to go. It's going to want to fall towards the seawall.
Right.
But I don't know that there's a real win-win when it comes to trees and concrete.
Yeah, and it's on the water view too. So then you look at it's going to block the view a little bit, but if you trim it up, it looks good. It looks kind of cool on the on the horizon. Absolutely. Like that. Yeah. I just love trees.
They have fake grass now. Maybe they'll come up with some fake trees.
Yeah, there you go. So we're talking currently with Fred Muth here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. I'm your host, Brandon Rhymes, and Fred is an expert in design, estimating, and sales when it comes to the screens aluminum, Tampa screens and aluminum. So we're talking about that beautiful space between your under air, your square footage in your home, and that outdoor area that you're going to love to go out and enjoy, especially during the winter months. But during the summer months, you got maybe mosquitoes, you got the humidity, and so Fred, I love this idea of that in between space between outdoors and then of course indoors. So let's talk about that. I love the design of this.
We always like to say add to your living area with an open air atmosphere.
Right.
And basically that's it. In Florida, you have 7 or 8 months where you can leave the windows open and enjoy it. You can leave the front door open, the back door open. You can have the air blowing through your patio, your screen room, your entire home.
That's right.
Not the same in the summer. Summertime, people will stay in the enclosures. They have the fans, they have the misters, and it's a very enjoyable space. I was in a customer's house 2 weeks ago. They had the mister, and it was very hot outside, and I'm in there, and that mister was so beautiful. So it's
cool.
That's another option.
I like that. Yeah. Now, have you ever dealt with or get into the mosquito control through the misting systems? Do you ever deal with that, or is that kind of outside your scope?
I don't deal with it. I know it's out there, and I think it's a very up and coming product. I wish I could comment on it, but I believe over the next year or two, I'm going to see a lot more of that.
That's one of the downfalls over there too by the lake. That you have a lot of mosquitoes. Especially when the grass gets a little bit longer. I mean, you look through it and you're like, man, there's thousands of mosquitoes here. So what's the best ways? Have you guys seen, kind of off topic here, but what have you guys seen anything, Leo? Have you seen anything with keeping the mosquitoes down, or what's here's one thing I heard is that you can use bats. Oddly enough, you create a little bat house out there, and allegedly they run and eat thousands of those things. Well, you guys heard that?
No, but it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the VME area, which is near Seminole Heights, so we got the bungalows, but bat boxes to control mosquito population's popular. The other one my wife does, it might be an old wives' tale, but it supposedly works, is rosemary. We plant a lot of rosemary around the house.
Yeah, I was actually watching a show yesterday, and it said something to that effect, is the certain herbs, and when you burn certain incense, it'll repel the mosquitoes. And what about, I've heard too, there's some kind of subsonic thing, like like a little sound that they do that for cars now, right? They do that where it'll allegedly tell the deer, hey, get out of the roadway, you're gonna get hit with a car here or something coming at you. But I don't know, off topic here, down a bunny trail we go there.
The sound thing I've heard of as well, and my concern with that, there's got to be a side effect to that. It possibly can affect our ears in a way that we don't know what's going on yet.
Yeah. Absolutely. Could be. Absolutely. All right, so that's Fred Muth, design, estimating, and sales expert, Tampa Screens and Aluminum. If you're considering building an aluminum building onto your home or potentially even office, wherever you want to put one of these things, I would highly recommend you reach out to Fred Muth. He's the best in the business and a great company as well, Tampa Screens and Aluminum. And coming up as well, we're going to talk more with Leo Kane, Jaret Nichols, and we're going to jump into some interesting content here as well. Colombian man builds a library for kids. How he did so may surprise you, and also 5 weird facts about rain, and also our lightning round, top tips, things to do, things to avoid, nuggets of advice from our consumer advocates here, our expert contributors in studio. You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
This is Warwick Dunn, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show, hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com.
On November 9th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, your radio and
listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show, Platinum MVP Realty and a top listing agent in Tampa Bay. We're recruiting real estate agents right now. We'd love to hear from you. Reach out to our hotline at 813-670-7372. Give us a call at 813-670-7372, as well as other business partners, expert contributors for our show. We're looking to grow our sphere of influence, grow the business here at that as well. Give it a big shout out to the Maids Cleaning Service. They do a great job cleaning our real estate properties. 24-hour, 100% satisfaction guaranteed by the Maids Cleaning Service. They are referred for a reason. And in studio today, it's Intelligent Talk Radio. I've got some intelligent folks here in studio with me. Jaret Nichols, he's the owner and project manager of Tampa Bay Electronic Systems. We've got Leo Kane in the house as well, principal project manager, Beryl Engineering, as well as Fred Muth, design, estimating, and sales, Tampa Screens and Aluminum. And we have an interesting story here. We kind of teased a little bit here, but we always like to do a Tell Me Something Good segment.
Tell me something good.
Again, going against the nonsense out there. in the mainstream media, a lot of the negativity out there, the CNN, the constant negative news, all these things you find out there. Colombian Garbage Man builds a library from discarded books. So a garbage collector in Colombia has his own library for children. Where did they get all the books? The trash. So 20 years ago, Jose Alberto Gutierrez found a copy of a classic novel, Anna Karenina, and a garbage bin, and it started a wonderful obsession. So today, the 55-year-old has more than 25,000 books stacked on the ground floor of his home, which he keeps open to the public as a free library. And goes on to talk about how lots of people have mocked me. They would laugh when they found out about my project, but 20 years later, they were amazed, says Jose. By adding that, my dream is to exchange my garbage truck for truck full of books and travel the country. So great, feel-good story there. Good find on that one, Anthony. That was great. So comments on that? Any comments there? Pretty cool, right?
Well, let's go back to basics. I don't know about you guys, but I still like picking up a good book and opening it up and reading it.
Yeah.
Everything online, this and that and the other, it's all so fast-paced, etc.
That's right.
Open up that book and start over, and there's some enjoyment about that
right.
I still get.
Yeah. Yeah, especially the way you look at the way we take in our information these days. I love podcasts just because we're on the go a lot. I like to, work out or walk and jog or whatever I'm doing, laundry even, little things like that by listening to an audiobook at the same time. And then, of course, pulling out a book, then you can highlight under the book. You can highlight the, key points. You can bookmark it, go back to it a lot easier. And for kids, too, this is something we've talked with some of our health experts about on the show. Some of the kids at such a young age, we've all seen it. You go to dinner, how can you get 15 minutes of peace and quiet with your fiance, your girlfriend, whatever it might be? You hand the kid an iPad, right? Oh. And they're looking or looking at these videos, and think about the effect. We've talked to some of our health experts about that. Again, another bunny trail here, but the effect of that on their mind and their vision. They're looking at, kids aren't supposed to have that. Allegedly, some experts say, some will disagree, of course. But looking at the screen of a computer at such a young age, they say it affects their development.
I would think it would. Going back many, many years.
That's right.
You go to the supper table.
That's right.
You had to sit there and listen.
That's right.
Whatever they said, that's what you had to listen to.
That's right. Yeah.
And it worked.
The respect, again, you get into the respect of, some of the younger generations and some of the changing, things evolve, things change, but good or bad, they change. All right, so here we go. 5 weird facts about rain. So this is another interesting that we found out here, rd.com. It says the least rainy place on Earth isn't the desert. It may be covered with ice, but Antarctica gets about 6.5 inches of rain or snow per year, making it the continent with the lowest annual rainfall. So typically, you would think with all this rain we're seeing in Tampa Bay, you'd think that, the deserts would be. All right, number 2 says rain doesn't always make the ground wet. So in hot, dry places, rain evaporates before it hits the ground. Environmentalist Edward Abbey describes phantom rain this way. You can see the curtains of rain dangling in the sky while the living wither below and want the water, tortured by tantalizing hope without fulfillment. All right, not all raindrops are made of water. This one's interesting. You look at Venus and some other moons and planets. Rain is actually made of sulfuric acid or methane. Even stranger, on a planet 5,000 light years away, scientists found raindrops made of iron rather than water. Pretty crazy stuff. 5,000 light years away. Unbelievable. There's a scientifically proven way to get less wet in the rain. So this one's saying click to a video, so we can't explain that one too well. The shape and color of clouds can help you predict the rain. Generally speaking, if you see I remember these in school, the science classes, and I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce it, cumulonimbus. Cumulonimbus. It's got a BUS on the end.
Bus. Oh, they changed that.
Cloud. A tall, puffy cloud that looks like flat at the top, or a nimbostratus cloud, flat, low-level gray cloud. You can be fairly certain the rain's in the forecast within the next 24 hours. I remember Captain Will Smith taught me a little bit about the different types of planes or clouds and precipitation and interesting. You can fly around them, fly above them when you're in the airplane out there. I was getting my pilot license with Captain Will Smith as well, expert contributor on our team. But shout out to Captain Will Smith there. Teaching me how to fly. It's been a while since I've been up, so I'm kind of on pause on that right now. But let's go ahead and jump into our lightning round.
The lightning round!
I am so good at lightning rounds!
I majored in lightning round.
All right. Top tips, things to do, things to avoid, nuggets of advice. Let's start right here with Jaret Nichols, Tampa Bay Electronic Systems.
I think I've talked about this on the show before, but it kind of relates a lot to the lack of grounding that you might find or lack of surge protection, but hire a licensed contractor. The most disgusting most disgusting things I've seen on an electrical installation level have probably been from unlicensed contractors. And we talk about lightning strike hitting a water heater, burning a house down. I mean, there's a very good chance that if you cut the corners and you just have your neighbor down the street do something, he might not know everything he needs to know about putting in a water heater, and that one little tiny detail of the grounding burned your house down.
Yep, absolutely.
And you can end up in jail for that, believe it or not.
Yeah, and handyman, there's no, I think Jason Avery was talking about that last time, there's no actual certification or licensing for a handyman. It's just that. He's a handyman. He's not a licensed general contractor, any kind of contractor. All right, Leo Kane, project manager, Beryl Engineering.
Yeah, home safety starts with understanding your house from the outside in. And this is the time of the year where if you're not tending to the outside, nature will let you know where you're deficient.
That's right. Yeah, and I just noticed as well in the show notes, the Beryl Engineering. This was a point I wanted to talk about with you as well. Is that you can provide plans whether by you or adding a whole new addition, enclosed open porch, converting a former porch. Talk about that for a sec.
I know the last time we were on the show with Fred, which seems like a lifetime ago, but it was just 3 weeks.
Yeah,
we talked about we can come up with plans for room additions, for the screen enclosures, for adding a pool. It's just make sure that when you're adding on, you got to do it to Florida Building Code. They require plans,
permits.
Pool permits. They require contractors. Yeah, they unlicensed contracting or handyman without a license is a felony in the state, from what I understand. So Avery was correct on that.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just we do plans and we help you get permits. So
yeah. Yep, and on that note as well, kind of a consumer advocate tip, going with the grain of our show here, is that if you have folks coming in that don't have their insurances, their workers' comp, they fall down, they're going to sue you, and they're going to take money from you, and there's attorneys out there that will love to grab that case. All right, top tips, things to do, things to avoid. Fred Muth, design, estimating, and sales, Tampa Screens and Aluminum.
Yeah, well, we talk about the unlicensed guys, and I call them ham and eggers, but some of them are very talented and they're very good at what they do. However, you just said it, they fall down, get hurt, cut their finger off.
Yep.
It's your problem.
They're going to sue you,
and it's just not worth the chance.
Definitely
not. I mean, basically, ham and eggers, come to work for us. We know you're good. We need installers, and I mean that's what we like to.
So you're looking for installers right now?
Absolutely.
You heard it here. Reach out.
It's just Tampa Screens and Aluminum. Talk to Richard Poles. He owns the company.
Yep.
He'll interview you, and if you're good, you're going to go to work.
Yeah, and we'll connect you with them at consumerqb.com. Just submit the contact form there. consumerqb.com. And we're going to do another round on the lightning round here as well. I want to give you a public service announcement here. If you know of anybody out there that's in need, that the families that are in need this time of year, kids are out of school, they're looking maybe for some extra meals here. We got a pretty cool thing I came across. Shout out to Jeanette on our team. Text the word food to 877-877. Just text the word food. Anybody you know that's in need out there to 877-877. They're going to reply back with their zip code, and then at that time they're going to give you a list of churches or schools, organizations that are providing meals, summertime meals to those less fortunate. So there's your public service announcement there. Go ahead and post that online as well. Do your random act of kindness that we talk about online. Just post that on your Facebook page. Share it. We posted it on our page last week, so just go ahead and share that for your random act of kindness. All right, another round here on the consumer, the lightning round. Jaret, you got another lightning tip for us, or another tip for us here?
Yeah, it's a personal business tip for anybody out there. Applying for a job, competing against your competitors in your industry, do whatever you can do to differentiate yourself.
If
you're applying for a new job, make sure that resume, you spend extra time on it, or something about yourself stands out. When you go to compete against your clients or other competitors, have a list of, hey, these are the things that we do differently. I mean, we're starting to realize that we're not just a little bit better than our competition; we're a lot better than our competition.
Yeah,
and we're writing the differentiating things down so we can say, hey, ask your guy if they do all this stuff.
I like it. Absolutely, I do the same thing in my listing appointments. Leo.
When you're supposed to do some home maintenance around the house, at least twice a year, you're supposed to take a look in your attic to see if you have a roof leak, because when the roof leaks, and it takes a while for the insulation to soak up all the water before it actually shows itself. So now that we've had about 12 solid days of rain, this would be an awesome time to grab a flashlight, poke up your head in the attic and just see if you can see any wet sheathing. And then if you do, call a roofer.
That's right. Fred, real quick tip.
Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, ask a lot of questions if you're going to bid out a screen enclosure project. I welcome the questions. The best customers are those that have a series of questions when I walk in the door. And please do not hesitate to ask me questions, even after I sell the job. After it's built, ask me questions not related to the job. Just kidding. Let Brandon handle the sale of the home, and please let me handle the sale of your screen enclosure.
Absolutely. Hey, I want to thank all of our expert contributors. I want to thank our listeners out there, our team behind the scenes making this happen. We want you to go out there and please consider committing a random act of kindness. Something as simple as packing up leftover food you may have, carrying it with you to and from your commute to work, handing it to that person that you see that's in need, and be a force for good in the community. Go out there and volunteer, donate time, donate leftover clothing or supplies you may have to a church. Be a force for good out there, and we'll see you next time here at Consumer Quarterback Show, ConsumerQB.com.
You've been listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Whether it's real estate, consumer, or financial advice, let Brandon call your next play. Contact Brandon Rhymes at 813-670-7372. That's 813-670-7372. Online at ConsumerQB.com. And join us next time for the Consumer Quarterback Show, weekday afternoons at 5 on AM 1380. The Biz.